2,242 yards. Say that number out loud, because it sounds fake. It sounds like a typo. That is over a mile, fired from a rifle that runs on compressed air, not gunpowder. Stop thinking about Airgun Slugs as some novelty for the backyard crowd. The projectiles we are covering today are turned-on lathes, coated in factory-grade friction reducers, and verified by the same ballistics labs that test center-fire rifle bullets. 5 slugs, 1 list, and by the end of this video you will understand exactly why one of them is sitting on a world record that firearm shooters cannot even touch. Let's get into it. Rank 5, the FX Halo segment. 1. The specs. This one is not your average heavy pellet slug. It is a hybrid, and that is exactly the point. 30 cal, 46 grains. Same weight as a standard 30 caliber Diablo pellet, but do not let that fool you. Under the skin, the Halo hides a deep hollow core and a dish-shaped base. That hollow structure strips mass out of the center, which means your existing pellet-tuned rifle can shoot this thing without touching your hammer spring or your regulator. No retuning, no new barrel liner. Just load and send hunting rounds downrange. Segment 2, the wind test. Here is where it gets interesting, because even at pellet weight, the outer shell is shaped like a full slug, with a polished ogive nose that laughs at crosswind. The Diablo pellets cannot handle. At 50 yards, it barely drifts. Push it to 100 and it is still tracking true, holding energy that a round nose pellet lost 200 yards ago. Segment 3, the pest and gel test. On impact, that hollow core becomes a weapon. The Halo flattens out fast, dumping energy in the first few inches instead of punching a clean pencil hole straight through. Now here is the deal breaker. The entry fee on these is rough. You are paying premium slug pricing for something that still weighs like a plinking pellet, and your wallet will feel it fast if you shoot volume. But for a guy who wants long-range knockdown power without rebuilding his whole air system, this is the easy button. Rank 4. The Patriot Javelin Gen 2. Segment 1, the specs. Coming out of South Africa, this slug was born for veld hunting and pest culling at distance, and the engineering shows it. 22 cal, 34 grains in the flagship load. What sets the Javelin apart is something Patriot calls balanced flight technology. Instead of just stretching the body to make heavier or lighter versions, their engineers machine a different hollow point depth for every single weight variant. That keeps the center of gravity locked in the sweet spot no matter which grain weight you load, 23, 26, 30, or 34. Segment 2, the wind test. The nose profile here is a tangent ogive, a smooth curve that meets the cylinder body without any hard transition. That gets the slug perfectly aligned with the bore before it ever touches the rifling. The rounded meplat cleans up airflow just enough to push the BC on the 34 grain load up around 0.105. It will not outduel the top 3 on pure wind resistance, but it holds its lane at moderate range without drama. Segment 3, the pest and gel test. This is where the Javelin earns its keep. Soft hunting rounds, a big meplat, and that custom-calibrated hollow point mean explosive expansion on impact. Energy dumps in the first few inches. You get a big wound channel and a fast, humane result on game. No pencil holes, no wounded animals running off into the brush. Now for the deal breaker. The ballistic coefficient just is not chasing the elite tier on this list. If you are shooting past 400 yards in real wind, the Javelin starts falling behind the true ELR specialists. Moving on, because things are about to get a lot more serious. Rank 3, The AirMarksman Ace Precision Segment 1, the specs. This one came out of a three-way collaboration between AirMarksman, Utah Airguns, and legendary tooling house Corbin Manufacturing, and it shows in every number. 22 cal, 42 grains, boat tail design. Swaged from 100% pure lead, no antimony hardening added. That pure lead softness is not a weakness, it is the whole point. It lets the slug obturate perfectly against the rifling on firing, sealing the bore completely and cutting down on blow-by. Segment 2, the wind test. Here is where the Ace separates itself from the pack. Ballistic coefficient sits at 0.245, verified independently by Applied Ballistics, not just a number printed by the manufacturer and taken on faith. That boat tail shape tapers the rear of the slug, shrinking the turbulent air pocket that drags behind a flat base projectile. Less base drag means the Ace holds velocity longer, and it shrugs off crosswind that would push a lower BC slug clean off target. At 100 yards bench rest distance, shooters are consistently printing groups under 1 MOA with this load. Segment 3, the pest and gel test. Because the seal is so clean, muzzle velocity consistency is almost eerie. Shot-to-shot spread tight enough that a 5 FPS swing feels like an event, not the norm. That consistency translates directly to predictable terminal performance on pests and small game, with reliable expansion once it reaches the target. Now the deal breaker. This level of manufacturing precision does not come cheap. The damage to your wallet climbs fast once you start buying by the case, and AirMarksman is not exactly sitting on every shelf in the country either. Stepping up the power now, because number 2 on this list glows in the air while it flies. Rank 2, the Zan Hyperline. Segment 1, the specs. Slovenia has been quietly building slug swagging expertise for years, and the 2026 Hyperline is where it all comes together. 22 cal, 34.6 grains. Cold swaged from pure heavy pellets, then wrapped in a proprietary anti-friction coating applied straight at the factory. That coating is the whole trick here. It slashes the friction coefficient inside the bore, which means you get higher muzzle velocity without cranking up your air pressure. I know the traditional firearm guys will doubt this, but a pellet gun coating can outperform a bare lead bullet, and the numbers back it up. Segment 2, the wind test. Ballistic coefficient lands at 0.258 at 1,000 feet per second, putting real distance between this slug and anything below the elite tier. But here is the detail nobody talks about. That coating comes in a bright fluorescent yellow finish. In competitive ELR, watching your own trace through the air is everything for reading wind and correcting your next shot. That glowing trajectory turns every miss into instant feedback instead of a guessing game. Segment 3, the pest and gel test. Because the coating keeps lead from ever touching bare steel, there is zero fouling buildup, which means 0 point of impact shift across a long multi-day match. Terminal performance stays honest shot after shot, with no drift caused by a dirty bore working against you. Now the deal breaker. That coating adds cost, and if you are shooting through a barrel with a tight custom liner, some shooters report a slightly gritty feel compared to bare lead. Small price for the consistency you get back. Closer to the crown now, because what is coming at number 1 did not just win a competition, it set a world record. Rank 1, the Altaros ATP Slug is turned individually. 1. The specs. Out of the Czech Republic comes the single most obsessive piece of engineering on this entire list, and it is not even swaged. Every single Altaros ATP Slug is turned individually on a CNC lathe from nearly pure lead, not stamped, not dropped from a die, cut, one at a time, to a tolerance the human eye cannot even register. The King load in 22 cal runs 40 grains at 0.21 BC. Step up to the Queen in 25 cal, 60 grains, and you are looking at 0.245 G1. .128 G7, the more honest number for a slug flying this fast. Push it further to the 257 King at 84 grains and BC climbs to .28. That is a number that belongs to a centerfire rifle bullet, not something fired out of a tank of compressed air. Segment 2. The wind test. This is where the ATP simply leaves the rest of this list behind. Compare it to number 3, the AirMarksman Ace. The Ace earns its reputation through swagging precision and a verified .245 BC. Solid, proven. But the ATP matches that number at the low end of its lineup and then keeps climbing past it. Now compare it to number 2, the Zan Hyperline. The Hyperline wins on bore cleanliness and trajectory visibility with its coating. Smart engineering, but it cannot touch the raw aerodynamic ceiling that CNC turning unlocks for the ATP. Because a lathe can cut ogive geometries, a swagging die physically cannot reproduce. The ATP does not just compete with the top of this list, it sits above it. Peripheral driving bands cut into the shaft reduce bearing surface against the rifling, letting these slugs run clean at 880 to 980 feet per second without pressure spikes or fouling. Segment 3. The Pest and Gel Test. This is not a slug built for a woodchuck at 40 yards. This is a slug built to still be carrying lethal energy a mile downrange, and it has already proven it. The Altaros ATP holds the current world record for the farthest confirmed air rifle hit ever recorded, 2,242 yards, 1.27 miles, on a target rated at 1.85 MOA. No deal-breaker rotation needed here. Rank 1 is exempt. But be honest with yourself before you buy. Each one of these is individually vacuum-packed in shock foam, because the lead is that soft and the machining that precise. This is not a slug you toss loose in a tin and forget about. This is the undisputed king of extreme long-range air rifle ballistics in 2026. So there it is, 5 slugs, 5 completely different approaches to the same problem. Beating gravity and beating the wind at distances that used to belong only to centerfire rifles. The Halo gives you long-range performance without touching your air system. The Javelin gives you devastating expansion on game. The Ace gives you laboratory-verified consistency. The Hyperline gives you a clean bore and a trace you can actually watch. And the Altaros ATP gives you a world record. Pick your slug based on what you are actually doing out there. Punching paper, hunting, or chasing a record of your own. Keep your air tanks full, and I will see you downrange.